Hello and welcome to Mahika Tutorials. In this tutorial, we are going to start with exception handling. So let us first understand what an exception is. An exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. Or we can say an exception is a runtime event that causes the abnormal termination of our code. That is, when an exception occurs in our code, we do not get our expected output due to the abnormal termination of our program. So we can say exception handling is the mechanism to handle runtime events so that the normal flow of application can be maintained. That is, when we go for exception handling, then even if exception occurs in our code, then also the normal flow of application will be maintained and our program will not get terminated abnormally. So we can say that the advantage of exception handling is that it maintains the normal flow of the application. Now, before going into more details of exception and how to handle exceptions, let us move to Eclipse first and see an example that what is an exception and how it is causing the abnormal termination of our code. Now here we have a code in which we have a divide method which will perform the division. It will read two numbers from the user and then perform the division and display the result back to us. In main method, we are simply calling this divide method. So let's execute this code and see the output. Now here we need to enter our first number, let's say 12, and then second number 2. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to divide 12 by 2. So now here we are getting two statements as our output. First is the result of division and second is rest of the code which is given in the main method. Now let's execute it again and try to divide the number by 0. Let's suppose the first value is 12 and second value is 0. That is, A is having value 12 but B we are entering is as 0. So now let's enter and check the output. Now here you can see we are getting a message exception in thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception division by 0. So this is an exception. Now we can see that once this exception is occurring in our code, that is this C equals A divided by B is causing exception in our code, and once this exception is occurring, then we are not getting remaining statements executed. That is, we are not getting this SOP in which we are displaying result, nor we are getting any other statement which is followed by the divide method. That is, we are not getting this rest of the code as well. So this is how this exception is causing the abnormal termination and it is breaking the normal flow of execution. So we have understood that what is an exception. It is an event that is causing the abnormal termination of our code. And why it is said to be runtime event? Because we can see that there is no compile time error in our code. Our code is syntactically correct. When we are giving the correct any other value rather than 0, then our code is getting executed normally. So exceptions are completely related to runtime events. Our code is syntactically correct, compiled, but any event that causes the abnormal termination of our code during the execution is known as exception. So now we have to see how we can handle such scenarios, that is how to handle these runtime events so that even if user enters the 0 as the divisor value, but still your normal execution should be resumed. That is, after getting this exception message, your rest of the code will be executed in the normal way. That is what is exception handling is about. That is, you have to specify what is to be done when exception occurs and thereafter normal flow will be maintained in our code. So in this tutorial basically we have learned what an exception is. In next tutorial we will see how we can handle exceptions. Thank you for watching this tutorial and please subscribe the channel for more updates.